Others, he's and she's, welcome to episode number 126 of my anime podcast. I am your host, Yata, and joining me in the cast today, I have two co-hosts with the mosts. Two ethereal boy childs. Live via our Discord, we have Snowman.
Hi, what's up?
And live via our Discord also, we have Peter Wright, AA.
Hey there, nice to see you guys, and nice to hear you.
Nice save there with the nice to hear you. I was waiting for someone to go, well, actually, it's audio medium. Welcome all to this latest edition of My Anime Podcast, this 126th edition of My Anime Podcast. And look, it's been less than a month, it's been less than a year since you heard us again. We're getting better. 2022 is finally off and running. And this is not a 3-episode rule episode. This is a new episode format that on this RSS feed, we're going to be calling the group chat. And essentially what it is a podcast version of what we do on Discord. And anyone who is familiar with Discord or any social media platform will know how it works. You interact with people online and it's kind of like having a friend. And we're all kind of like friends who have never like physically met, but we share the Discord space together. And if you want to share the Discord space together and maybe hop in on future groups chat podcasts, just join the My Anime Podcast Discord. Link is in the description to this episode. And it's also on all of the social media places where you can find us, which is at My Anime Podcast on Instagram, at My Anime Podcast on Facebook, at My Anime Podcast on Twitter. So what we decided to do here is we decided to get a couple of us together, or 3 of us together, which is not a couple, literally. And we decided to talk about anime because that's what we do here. And we are talking about new and shiny anime because what we have here today is a seasonal preview. We are going to be talking about upcoming anime for the spring season. We have some shiny new anime titles. Very, very exciting. But before we get into the anime talk, how about we have some icebreakerage? Just going to see how my co-hosts are doing today. How are you today, dear Snowman?
Good, I'm good to go. I'm really excited. I've been, I know you've been like off the wagon for a little bit, but I'm super excited to get it back up again.
Yeah. When you say off the wagon, you don't mean like, return to my heroin addiction. Or...
No, that's true. That's true. Anime can be kind of addictive. It can be kind of addictive.
It can. Actually, I do have a new addiction. I'll get to that a little bit later.
I hope it's a good one.
I don't know. I had a lot of things to do this weekend. It turned into not doing a lot and just watching a lot of this thing.
Gotcha.
First, though, Peter Wright, Ace Attorney, not the one from the video games. Peter, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing well today. It's a very nice day today, and I'm looking forward to doing my very first podcast ever. Excited, also a bit tense, but I guess that helps with podcasting, doesn't it, Yata?
I would recommend a stiff drink, but it's like early o'clock in the morning where you guys are. We're all spread out across the globe here. We kind of hit like all the sectors. I am obviously in PAX, the Asia Pacific region. Peter is like holding down the fort for the European African time zone. He is like pretty much bang center in the middle of Europe. And far, far, far in the New World, in the West, we have Snowman, who's coming to us live from... You're in Puerto Rico right now, or are you in the US?
No, Puerto Rico right now. Dealing with daylight savings times and all that.
That's a thing, because like in Ireland, obviously we have like daylight savings because, there's quite a variance. In the summertime, it could be bright till like midnight. And then in the winter, it's like dark at 4 p.m. In Taiwan, that's not really an issue. In the winter, it gets dark at like 6. And in the summer, it gets dark at 7. So they don't have daylight savings. But trying to like arrange anything with someone back home or in the US generally and dealing with daylight savings, it's such a nightmare. I don't know if it's like just me, but I feel like it's not. It's probably the whole world. It always feels like you always have one less hour in bed. I know it's a 50-50 split, but it never feels that way. It gets like a glass half full, glass half empty kind of situation. Anyway, there's our thoughts on daylight savings.
Nobody likes it, so we're on the same boat with everyone.
It sucks. Damn farmers. I did kind of like tease a new obsession. My new obsession is actually Formula One.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I made the mistake of watching the Netflix documentary, F1 Drive to Survive. I was talking last night to Taka, actually, because I was like, you got to watch the Formula One show. You got to watch the Formula One show. He had heard it's good, but he is like so not into sports. And for me, it's like, I will literally watch anything. Like I'll watch darts, I'll watch biathlon, skiing, ping pong if it's on. I'm like, no, you don't have to be a fan of sports. It's just really, really good. Like I'm not a big Formula One fan. I'm not a fan at all, actually. When I was a little kid, I watched like a couple of races, but I hadn't been keeping up with it at all. But watching this car crash, that's a joke. Reality TV, it's just so addictive. That world is so we're swearing. That world is so fucking crazy. Yeah, we are swearing. I just did it. I can either deal with that in post, I can bleep it out, or we can just roll with it. Brave new world.
No longer.
2022. New
no rules in the group chat.
I've been watching. I have a friend from high school. He was like subliminally messaging me, like, he'll send me like 3 texts. Watch Drive to Survive, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna skip it and I'm gonna go straight to the races. And I've been watching the races. It's really fun.
Oh, you haven't watched Drive to Survive, dude? You got to watch.
No,
Drive to Survive.
I haven't. I've just been watching the races.
I will say that having the reality show definitely like punctures your mental image of the sports people. Like, so for example, I always thought like Lewis Hamilton, the most decorated driver in the field. He's a British guy as well. So as an Irishman, I'm almost inherently sort of biased at like not liking the English driver. But like he comes across quite humble. And then Peter's countryman, Max Verstappen, he might be a psychopath. Like clinically a psychopath.
His father was so notorious for constantly just speeding in his private life. So I guess he must have picked up something from the old man.
Yeah, because I remember as a kid, like vaguely remember Use Verstappen, his father. He comes across very, very intense on the show. But what I do like is how like unmedia trained they are. If you watch like the NBA or football or any other sport, generally if you're having they're robots. Yeah, you have a press conference. They're not going to say anything. Max Verstappen had this like interview in season 1 where he crashed out of a race because he hit like a French driver. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. They weighed in together after the race. I guess it's like a medical thing. And Max is like pushing him. Like just pushing him. And like there's no sound, but you can see he's like cursing him out. And then he sort of walks away, turns back around again, and starts pushing him again. And the French guy is like, what are you doing, you psychopath? So he's just like doing what a lot of people in that situation would do. He's trying to like laugh it off. Anyway, cut forward to like the actual press conference, right? So you have like the BBC and the NBCs and the Sky Sports and Fox Sports or whatever like media people are there to cover the event. And they're like, hey, Max, you want to comment on that incident that happened in the pits? Generally, like 9 times out of 10, I think most sports people are going to go like, oh, I'm not going to comment on it right now. You know, it was a misunderstanding. These things happen. Brush it over and move on. And that's what Max started out doing. He's like, I'm not going to comment right now. And then he kind of stops for like 2 seconds and you can see the gears turning in his head. I will say that he's a pussy. It was just like...
It's the Dutch mentality. Just tell it like it is. And just...
I like that kind of straight talking. And that's why the show is so good, is because it's so like straight from the hip. People are like not well media trained, or they just don't care because they're all so rich and like in this weird world. Like half the owners or the drivers are just like billionaires or the sons of billionaires. So there's like just like no consequence for their behavior. And automatically that can lead to like bad behavior. And who doesn't love bad behavior in reality TV? It's like, that's literally what reality TV is for.
I think they all live in like Monaco where like there's no income tax and they're all like on a weird, you know, they're not taxed so they can make even more money from their things.
That's it. It's like you know, a 22-year-old with no consequences, way too much money, and who's got like a driving fast addiction. What's not to love? Every time we record, I'll probably try and just like talk about it because I'm trying to get people here to watch it. And it's not, well, you know, I got kind of like maybe I'll watch it from Taka, and I got like probably no from Naraku. So
you gotta say it's like anime. It's like sports are almost like anime.
Would you say that F1 driving is like anime?
Well, you see, there's nothing that gets me hyped quite like Haikyuu.
There we go.
So that's like the perfect amalgamation. Sports and anime. The perfect combo. And actually, we got a couple of sports anime coming up of dubious quality, perhaps. I think we have a football anime on the list. And there might be a golf anime on the list as well, which are 2 sports that I have watched, I have played. One of them I got very, very angry with. And I threw... it's kind of obvious now. I was playing golf. Like... It just turns out I do not have the patience for golf. My dad and my brother are both very like mellow fellows. So they play it and they're kind of like, oh, I hit the ball, it went far. Or I hit the ball and it went into the rough. That's golf. For me, it's like, why can't I hit the ball? The ball is laughing at me. I'm just going to whack it. My dad's like, calm down, calm down. I'm like, I won't calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Because if there's one thing you tell a triggered person to make them less triggered, it's not calm down. That only makes them more triggered. And I've never been like angry like I've been golf angry. I do not know how people do it.
I think it's part of the experience. Like you get pissed off. You're like 3 drinks in, so like all the F words are flying by.
Yeah. Blood pressure's soaring.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a cigarette. Get like an expensive drink. I just gotta get to the clubhouse so I can just drink myself into oblivion.
And there's some old person next to you and says like, yeah, but I've got a handicap that's way lower than yours. And you're like, shut up.
Screw you.
Shut up, you. You. Shut up, y'all, man. You got some like weird JoJo showdown between you and this old golf guy. Anyway, we digress. We are here to talk about anime. We've managed to pull 15 minutes about not anime. So how about we talk about anime? We'll have a little musical interlude here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the season that was as we bid adieu to winter and await eagerly the impending arrival of spring. Music. And we are back, and before we say hello to the new, we should say goodbye to the old. The winter season has passed, the weather is getting warmer, the birds are starting to bird, and the grass is starting to grow. Blossoms are in the trees, and bugs are back, and other things that come with spring. It's raining more. Young love is sprouting, and it's an exciting time. Before we talk about that, as I said, winter happened. Winter was a fun season?
Question mark.
Yeah, question mark, ... We had a war. Like, that was the thing that happened in winter. But in the anime fronts, we had a couple of massive titles. Obviously, I guess Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer Season 2 being the foremost. But there was one certain anime, one cosplay little anime that sort of made that holy duo triumvirate. My Dress Up Darling. That got a lot of attention on the social medias. Even if you didn't want to watch it, you couldn't really escape it. I think even Iraku talked about watching it at one point, which is like the seal of approval because that man does not like a slice of life comedy. Let's talk about the winter really quickly. What do you guys think of the winter? What did you consume? How about we hit with Snowman first? Because I have a feeling you might have watched the most. I'm kind of crossing my fingers that you watched something.
Yeah, I checked out a couple of shows outside of the big ones. Like I did watch Dress Up Darling, which is, it is slice of life, but the thing is that it has so much animation for like a dumb slice of life rom-com that I think that's what drew a lot of people in. Besides that, I watched Sabiko Ibisco, which is the weirdest show I've ever seen, right? They don't explain anything to you. There's like, they're riding on a crab. There are cows with machine guns on them. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. They're like arrows that sprout mushrooms when you shoot them. Also not kidding. Really fun, but I watched like the first 3 episodes of that. That was good. And I think besides that, the other big one that I watched was probably a Kebi sailor uniform. I don't know if Peter, if you knew about that one. But that one's also very slice of lifey, like this, really happy girl that goes to a school and is like very preppy. It's almost like over the top how positive she is. But that one also has a ridiculous amount of animation for like a slice of life show. That's the other thing that pulled me into that one.
Just out of curiosity, for My Dress Up Darling, do we know what studio was working on that? Was it Cloverworks?
I think it was. Yep, it's Cloverworks.
Yeah, I was going to touch on this with Spy X Family later on, but there's really a certain like Cloverworks and like model in terms of like how their characters look that almost instantly like screams like, oh, this is Cloverworks. I'm still kind of waiting for them to have that one amazing anime because I feel like everything they do in terms of like production is amazing looking. They just haven't had that moment yet. Having not seen My Dress Up Darling, maybe that was the moment. They did like Faith Grand Order, Absolute Demonic from Babylonia, and it had like amazing animation. But it's a Fate series. Like the story is going to vary depending on your mileage with the series. Every season, I'm just waiting for that one thing. Like, oh, this is the thing that they're going to be known for. Because like the talent is there in terms of animation quality. They're up there with like, I think you could, be uncontroversial in saying that they're probably up there with the best at the moment in terms of animation quality, at least like season to season. What about Peter? Did you dip
Yeah.
into the winter season, or was it one to forget?
I'm usually quite selective with my anime, but there is a nice duo of anime that I've been watching that kind of really complements each other. I've been watching the second season of How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom, and I've also been watching another show about policy, which is The Genius Prince. I think how the Genius Prince got his kingdom out of debt. I think this is a very nice duo because on the one hand, Realist Hero it's very policy focused. It's like a lot of people just talking to each other about, oh, that we just changed the agricultural policy and now the yield of the crops is 20% more efficient. But, I kind of love that stuff. On the other hand, Genius Prince is more focused on foreign policy. The entire conceit of the show is that the prince, he's the heir to a very crappy, bad kingdom up in the north that nobody wants. So he wants to get rid of the country as soon as possible and live a nice life. But hijinks and politics ensue. So he ends up being wrapped up in all these plots by their neighbor countries.
Such an anime plotline. Like, oh, you have a country and you want to get rid of it. So the only things that happen in anime.
I was gonna say it screams like shoujo, like visual novel.
Oh, this is definitely a visual novel. Lately I kind of like Genius Prince a bit more because the main character is just more appealing. The main character of Realist Hero, he's kind of like a machine. He has red Machiavelli and he just applies it and it works. Whereas the Genius Prince, he wants to plan things, but always there's a problem and he always freaks out. He has to make up something at the very last minute to just get through something, which is a lot more entertaining for me to watch, to be honest.
Nice. Snowman, you're going to say something?
I wanted to mention Ranking of Kings because that show, like it started in the previous season, I guess, fall from last year. It's ridiculously produced. It's one of the best looking TV shows I've ever watched. It just wrapped up and the ending was satisfactory, but the whole thing is ridiculous.
Dude, I've literally been like marking down the days of my calendar when I can officially say, without being like prisoner of the moment, that's the anime of the year. Because it was like January and I'm like, this is it. It's the best anime. It's over. Competition is done.
Anime of the year last year and this year because it's both. I'm like, oh, whatever, both years.
I was thinking the same thing. I had to remind myself how hyped I was for like Attack on Titan season 4 12 months ago when it had that run of like episode 4, 5, 6, and 7 where it was literally like the hypest shit I've ever seen in my life. I was stunned at like how how like amazing Wit had like done Ranking of Kings from like a technical perspective, and two, like how much I cared. Like it just kept on hitting me in the feels over and over and over again, and the grey nature of like certain characters and certain motivations and stuff. It constantly kept on like flipping, and if someone told me like, oh, you're never really going to know because this character you think is terrible will be good, and this, you go a lot of ways a lot of times with a character or with all of the characters. A part of me is like, oh, that can work 1 or 2 times, but like I don't know if you can do that for a whole cast of characters without it kind of feeling like kind of hokey or kind of like losing its impact. Every week I was just there for it. I was absolutely blown away by Ranking of Kings.
No, it's ridiculous.
I think there was a lot going against it in terms of, I think a lot of people initially were put off by the animation. Like the design of the show. It doesn't look like really anything else. Like it's well animated, but the character designs are not for everybody. And for a lot of people, like if they don't like the look of a show, they're just not going to watch it. And then you have essentially a mute protagonist. That's kind of a risk in itself because you have to tell the story in a different kind of way than most people would have had a story. Oh man, I never quite cried, but man, you guys can't see this who are listening, but I'm like pumping my fist. I would follow that king into battle,
Yeah, like we all adopted Boji as like a second son immediately because he's so like he is beautiful. He's so adorable,
Boji is the ultimate underdog who you can't help but to root for. It's just instant sympathy. And like you already said, Yata, I don't think there's a single one-dimensional character in that show. It's all so very well thought out. This is anime of the year contender, in my opinion.
It will take something truly remarkable to beat it. Now, maybe there's something truly remarkable hiding in the weeds amongst the spring season. For me, honestly, winter was a bit of a blah time in terms of like, it was me watching other stuff. I kind of talk about it in the 3-episode real podcast that I watched on like Spice and Wolf. And I was kind of working my way through my plan to watch list. And I'm basically just watching a lot of isekai, like the piece of trash that I am.
There's nothing wrong with being a piece of trash. There might be gold on the bottom of the trash can. If
There might be gold in them there trash heaps. Yeah. I will say this though, vis-a-vis like the kind of political machinations and the day-to-day running of a country, watching season 2 of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, and you do realize a lot of it is just like meetings and trade talks. It's not like the balls to the wall action kind of isekai that maybe like I think of it as being. When I just finished season 2, I had that thought about just how much it was them sitting around and talking about what they're going to do, you know, or like the kingdom of Urania and he has a uranium shortage. The kingdom of Isania has lots. Let's have 2 episodes talking about how we can get that sorted, you know. Still love slime, but it's kind of weird like what can hook you up from a fantasy perspective, like having something so mundane, I guess, as like trade routes, or in the case of Ascendance of a Bookworm, the printing press, or like the making of. Isn't there a season 3 coming out?
It is. There is a season 3. I need to get on it.
Have you not watched it?
No, I haven't. That
dude.
one in Slime, like I know I'm gonna enjoy them when I watch it, but I'm so like averse to isekai. It's like no, it's like the opposite. I'm like I get repelled by it. But I like the shows. Like I like Mushoku Tensei when I watched it, and I know there are good ones out there. It always takes me like a little bit more to start them.
Yeah, for me personally, I think that's 1A and 1B in terms of like isekai, Slime, and Ascendance of a Bookworm. Speaking of isekai, is there any isekai on the list this month? I'm not. This season, I'm sure there has to be, right? There has to be.
I don't have one on my list, but I'm not sure.
There is one that I added to the list.
There's always one.
There is no escape. Isekai is the modern mainstream anime genre, so we cannot escape. We might as well just admit and
embrace
submit.
it. All right, we have stalled enough. We're going to talk about spring now. And we are back, and the spring seasonal preview has commenced. Like we always do with these seasonal previews, we basically are going to just go through a list on Mal of all the shows that interest us for the season, and we're going to gauge our interest on watching that show. We can do 1 to 10 in terms of 10 being I'm quite interested in, and 1 I have no desire to see it. We can just like throw out a number, but we'll chat about it first. Before we get to the new shows, it is obligatory, especially in springtime, to talk about big sequel titles that are coming out for the season. And this season, like basically all springs for the last 3 years, is just chock-a-block full of like quite meaty second seasons. I think we have like a new Date Alive coming out. There's another season of Kaguya-sama. Isn't there Shield Hero season 2 as well?
Shield
coming
Hero
out?
season 2. Yeah, that's the other big one.
Shield Hero season 2, yeah.
In terms of sequels, guys, what is like the thing that you're most excited for?
Oh, hands down, Kaguya season 3. The first 2 seasons are winners. I don't see how the 3rd season can screw this one up. It's a simple concept. The show has a simple concept. 2 main characters who are too proud or stubborn to admit that they're in love with each other, but the joke works. And that's why we are in season 3.
Actually, hang on a second. I want to show you something just because you said that. If you guys can fill the airwaves for like 6 seconds, I will return with something I recently just purchased.
Yeah, I think Kaguya, the thing that I enjoy about it so much is that all the other side characters are also like really fun. It's not like a one-trick pony, I guess, like a bunch of these shows sometimes can be. And there's like development sometimes, you know, you have the whole thing with like the student council girl and the secretary. There's like solid development on top of all the hijinks, which I enjoy.
And I like to use the word hijinks as well. Give you guys a little bit of a background. In Taiwan, there's a lot of otaku. I would say like per head of population, it's quite high compared to like the West. You know, being an anime fan is not something that's unusual because of the big anime otaku community. And again, proximity to Japan. There's a lot of like anime merch stores around, and a giant model shop opened up like basically 2 doors down from my school. So I eventually went in there and I bought way too much. I bought like a Rimuru Tempest. Oh, what's the name of that girl? You know the knife girl from the My Hero Academia? Toga?
Yeah, Toga. Oh, Himiko Toga. Yeah, Himiko Toga. Yeah.
I got a Dabi one as well, and I got a couple of Demon Slayer figures. But I also managed to pick up this character.
Oh, there we go. We got some Kaguya. She's so nice.
Dude, she's best girl. I don't want to hear any of these Chica stands coming in here like saying otherwise.
You do one dance. You do one ED dance.
Yeah, you do one dance. You do one internet-breaking, amazingly animated dance, and suddenly everyone forgets about the realest girl in the room.
Yep.
Although, actually, like I should say, shout out to the Discord and shout out to Avarius. He's actually not about either of those 2 girls. He's about the blonde. I can't never remember her name.
Aki? No, it's not Aki. Yeah, she's like the bodyguard, the bodyguard type of for Kaguya. Yeah, no, she's the best.
She's not the best, but Kaguya is the best.
I don't know. Chica is the wild card of the group. She is, to make a bad analogy, she is the Joker of the series. She is not interested in any of the hijinks going on. She just wants to watch the world burn.
And there's somebody who likes Eno over all the other girls. I'm like, come on, that's she's the fourth girl. Come on.
You know that kills me though. Like there was a period of time there, just before season 2 starters, where Kaguya passed Chica on member favorites on Val. I was like, yes. I just checked right now, and I see that Chica has passed Kaguya again, and it's like frustrating. Chica's amazing. Don't get me wrong. Every character in the show is amazing, but I gotta have justice for Kaguya. Yeah, I think Kaguya-sama, like that would be high on my list, but it wouldn't be top of my list. I just checked, and it is confirmed. A Sense of a Bookworm is there, flying quite far under the radar in terms of the sequels, but I'm excited for that as well because I know things are going to really pick up on that front in like terms of like where that's going to go in the near future. What about you, Snowman? Do you have any hype sequels to announce?
The fandom's gonna be super excited for the second season of Komi-san because like the first one was like a mini sensation when she was coming out, and the second one should probably be similar. I'm not sure how much like depth Komi-san has compared to like Kaguya, for example. Like it feels like it's she's nervous, she doesn't talk, and that's mostly what happens. But yeah, no, the second season for that is probably gonna be super, and it's high up on like the Mao clan to watch list.
Komi-san already had a very staunch manga following before the series started. So there was already some hype before the series came out, and now the series is here. These are just factors that just enhance the fandom, I think.
Anyone have any interest in Rising of Shield Hero season 2?
No.
I dropped the first. I dropped the first season. I believe I dropped it the same time that Naraku dropped it when the chicken turned into a cute lolly. I think that's exactly when I dropped it as well. So it's one of the things that he and I agree on. but yeah, no, I think it is a good show. Like it's well done, it's well produced. There's good action.
It's one of those
scenes.
things where like there's a lot like right for it in terms of like, oh yeah, you got Kevin Penkin doing the sounds, animation looks great. It's like quite a lauded isekai, and it has like that waifu-y kind of like fantasy animal girl. And there's a word, furry, that's the word. I couldn't know why that word escaped me. Like if you compare that to like what you get from Ari Frueta, for example, which just had a season 2, Shield Hero does that better. But for some reason, yeah, at least I guess in this room, it's not the most anticipated. I always say like copy and paste that sort of like lack of enthusiasm for Date Alive as well. I never enjoyed it. It's not great. I would say this: the characters look amazing in terms of like if you want a very well done sort of harem. The villain girl is very cool. Like her design is really cool. She has like a clock for an eye. I'm sure you've seen her everywhere. She's sort of like a maid as well. I know it's a lot of fan service and a lot of like shallowness, but it does have though, and I've always kind of liked this. Like panda-eyed character, like kind of tired-looking girls. The scientist in that show is she's got like a gray-haired anime girl with bags under her eyes. Chef's kiss on that. I always like those kind of panda-eyed anime girls. I don't think I've ever revealed that in the podcast before, but I've done it right now. Most of my waifus will be like panda-eyed, gray-haired anime girls. There's also one in Danganronpa as well. Girls
are just too tired for this.
As a guy who's generally too tired for this. All right, so that was the old stuff. Here's the new stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce the show. If we have anything to say about it, we can talk about it. If we don't, just give it the old not too much interest. I don't think, spoiler alert, this season's particularly stacked, but I think there are some fun titles in the mix. But there is one like big title that needs to be discussed, and that's like top of our agenda right now, and that's Spy X Family, which is the latest Cloverworks efforts, I believe. Oh, wait, it's a collaboration between Wit and Cloverworks. Oh, yeah. My goodness. Forget about that Vinland Saga. Wit was doing this. Okay. So let me hit you with a synopsis. It's from the Mal Rewrite team. It's quite lengthy, which is generally not how these things go. Settle in.
I think I can give a smaller summary because I read the manga for this if you want.
Oh, yeah, sure. Great. That would be great.
It's like, modern, not modern, but like fantasy or like alternate, East Berlin, West Berlin, basically type of show. And then there's a spy from one of the sides. He's on the other side. Doesn't really matter which side it is. And he basically has to like infiltrate and get close to one of the big strategy commanders from the other side. And so the way he has to get through it is basically through like the school, right? Like he has the intelligence officer from from the other side. He has a kid in the school, and he's basically trying to infiltrate through the kid. So he's a spy. And he needs to like form a family unit to get close to this guy. So he adopts a kid, he gets a wife, And it's basically about that. And then hijinks ensue.
And the waifu is a assassin, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the other twist. Like it's a
the-
weird family where like he's a spy. I think the girl, the wife is
girl
an assassin.
is a-
And
the
then the
girl can
kid
read
is
minds,
a
yeah.
mind reader. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
So whenever
Yeah.
the main spy has like an internal monologue, the little girl actually hears, and she's like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
I'll tell you right now, that you get yourself in trouble real quickly with that.
Oh boy, yeah.
So from the PV, it looks very high. Like again, it might be the word of the day. It looks very hijinksy. Animation is stellar, to be expected. It seems more comedic than dramatic, but I feel like it's going to probably ramp up towards the latter half of the season, where we'll get some sort of dramatic tension. Now, like how well that's executed, I'm not really sure. And I'm not really sure if that's what people are going to be there for. They might just be there for the pretty animation and the lols. And if they can do that well, in a manner similar to, say, like Kaguya-sama or Komi-san, where you're just happy to go along for the ride, I think the show could be extremely successful. Like, if you're looking at the member favorites on Mal and the kind of like the hype that's been building up in the community around the show, I think it's going to be a big deal. And in terms of my interest for the show, it's pretty high. I think this deserves at least, the first couple of episodes to sort of gauge the strength of the series. I think it's worthy of the attention, or my attention, I should say, just because of what I've seen so far. Is it going to be anime of the year contender? I don't think so, but it looks like a lot of fun, at least personally. What are you guys? What's your feeling on this one so far?
Well, my feeling so far is that this is, for me, I'm definitely going to watch this because I've also read the manga, and I think there's a third element that could also elevate this series from just being like a nice action comedy, and that's the family angle. That you have these three people who slowly but surely they just kind of grow together as an actual family. So there's also a kind of like a tenderness, which is also part of the show. So if the show pulls off the action, the slice of life parts, as well as the family parts, then I think this could be a very good quality show. Will it be anime of the season? We'll have to see, but for me, it's a must-watch.
Yeah, we were talking about like waifus earlier, and I think Anya is like a dark horse for like running away with it because she's like super cute. She's really dumb. She's like a really dumb kid, which is always funny. There's a lot of hijinks where she's like misinterpreting whatever she's reading, whatever mind she's reading, and she doesn't really know how to use her powers that well. She's like a low key could like run away with like best, because she's like this daughter figure that gets a lot of attention sometimes.
Like a kind of like a Kana.
Yeah.
But
Kana
was
she's
extremely
way dumber. Yeah. Way dumber.
Like an Aqua Kana hybrid.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. I think everyone's quite positive on this one. I think this, at the end of the day, like we have discussed about like having this sort of like collaborative group watch thing where we come back halfway through the season and sort of discuss the season as it's commencing and what we've been watching. And we thought, the way to at least have some sort of common ground, we to all watch a show together. And I think this is probably going to be the choice if everyone's going to be watching it anyway. I'm sure. I figure I see good signs, at least here, for Spy X Family. So stay tuned for that one. Second on the list, this was one selected by Snowman. We have, let me get this one. Kawaii Daki Ja Nai Shikimori-san, or Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie. And speaking of like potential like anime girls of the season, Shikimori might be a contender for that list as well. Synopsis is quite short. Shikimori seems like the perfect girlfriend. Cute, fun to be around, sweet, and when she wants to be, but she has a cool dark side that comes out under the right circumstance. And her boyfriend Izumi loves to be around when that happens. Short and very sweet. It's from Daiga Koba. That's a fun studio. I actually kind of low-key like rate Daiga Koba as one of the better studios in terms of like animation.
I agree.
It's like they're like kind of the cool like that cool alternative indie label that are just kind of pushing out some like good young industry people. And obviously, like there's a lot of good stuff there, like working and how heavy are the dumbbells you lift. I think New Game was Daigakoba as well.
Yep. They're like the
there's a lot of
cute girl office type of slice of life show, but also like really well animated for like a slice of life.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
like what I think about when I think of Daigakoba.
I think I think Nakaya Onsen, which is like I did a video on him before and for YouTube. He's the guy who did like the Faith Grand Order fight between Tiamat and Quetzalcoatl. Mm-hmm. He got his start in Daigakoba with a couple of other like quite prominent like web gen animators. The PV for the PV shows that this one potentially has like pretty good animation.
Yep.
But I also like watching it. I'm like, well, what's the point though? I don't get like what's about, you know. I don't get like is it the twist is just that she has like a sort of like a cool side.
That seems to be there's like one of the scenes in the PV is like he gets like he's about to get run over and she saves him and she gets like super pissed off or something. So I'm not sure if it's like I wasn't sure if it's gonna go like more like yandere route where she goes like really insane sometimes, like if someone is like hitting on her boyfriend, she goes like off the walls, or if it's more like she's this really cool girl that saves him whenever he gets in trouble. Like I didn't get like a good sense of which one of those two it was.
Yeah, I could get nothing from
this. This seems to me like a return of the classical Perfect Girlfriend anime. First, we had I think in the 90s there was Ah My Goddess, which was basically a girlfriend angel appearing from the heavens, and she's the perfect Yamato Nadeshiko, so the perfect yes man wife who will do whatever you want. But in the 20s now, we've got the cool girlfriend who is not just nice, but she has like a darker, more serious side to her. I mean, which is fine, but like Yata said, I don't really know what the next step is. I mean, okay, she's the perfect girlfriend, and then what?
Yeah. Well, I think if the PV gave me a little bit more, like I just like what's the like if I had to give somebody like a two sentence summary of what this is about. Okay, there is a couple, and the girlfriend has like a kind of a not like a dual personality, but like kind of like she's got two different speeds. And I'm like, okay, and
yep, that's it.
That's it. That's all we got. Okay, and like, well, like the character design's kind of cool. The character design's kind of cool. It looks like 02. You know.
Yeah, that's the thing. That might be the thing that like carries the show, is that she's really she's a really cute character design. So that might be like the thing that carries the show. But it might get stale, like, I think, is what we're all like pointing at, that it might get like boring, like 5 or 6 episodes in.
Yeah, what they need is like a hobby.
Yeah.
Like if they go camping or play golf or go fishing or something where you're like, all right, well, like if the character dynamics don't really work, at least we have this. Like if you think Kaguya-sama, like that student council thing, that's sort of like the glue piece, just to like in terms of like keeping it kind of entertaining and fresh, is like quite like needed. Now, if the character writing is good and it's funny, I think the series could be really, really good, right? It's just that there's so little to go off of right now in terms of like that PV didn't give me much. Other than the fact that I liked the character design, I was like, oh, it's quite impressive. And there was one scene when she sort of like, when she went, we'll say cool, because that's the term that they were using. Like they had a pretty cool like image to reflect that, with a shadow kind of went over like half her face. And it's like, oh wow, this looks really good. In terms of like, that's good animation, that's good anime right there. Because initially I was like, this is going to look like crap. You know what I mean? It's because like the rom-coms just don't get the budget like historically, like that you know the more exciting shows would. But this one actually does look pretty good. But I gotta say, I'm like right now I'm sort of wait to see what other people say before I hop in. Like I think someone is gonna have to chart these waters first. So I'd say like in an interest level, I'm probably about a 5 right now. Like cautiously like curious, but not curious enough to actually commit to watching this one on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, that's where I am. Like
at this moment.
That's where I am, like a 5 or 6, somewhere in there.
Similar for me. I would say like a 4, because I don't know where the show goes from the premise. There needs to be something interesting here.
Speaking of like not knowing where a show is going to go from the premise, let me hit you with this one, okay? This is actually technically a sequel, we think, maybe. It's Black Rock Shooter Dawnfall, not Downfall. And here's the mal synopsis. There's none. There's no mal synopsis. The studio is basically a couple of no-name studios. It's Bibri Animation Studios, which I think is basically is Azur Lane and not much else. Oh wait, no, sorry. Quintessential Quintuplets actually also was, at least in part, Bibri Studios. So like in terms of like projects they've done stuff, but maybe not like the most extensive in terms of like their back catalog. And Black Rock Shooter is like, I knew Black Rock Shooter as this OVA kind of that grew out of like a music video. I think it was like Hatsune Miike that did it initially, and it became this sort of weird thing. And I always thought it looked really good in terms of like the arts that you would see that would kind of spawn from it. But the scores and the reviews were always so kind of like that I just never got beyond my plan to watch. So then this comes out, and I'm thinking, okay, we have like there was an anime version, like a TV version of it, but I'm not sure if this is like directly related to that, like a sequel, or if it's sort of like a Magica Records thing where it's a complete sort of like new story but set in that universe. Does that make sense? So anyway, I go to the PV and I couldn't find an English sub version of it, so I'm watching it all in Japanese. Again, like just not getting a lot here in terms of like what am I watching right now, except for the fact that I'm pretty certain Yasumasa Koyama did the sound design. Like, for anyone who's not aware of that name, he's the guy that did like Sword Art Online. He does the Fate shows. If you're listening to one of his things, you're going to notice it's very loud and very like, ooh. There you go, some free sound effects for you guys. It's very like intrusive. A lot of people don't like his style because it's very like over the top and kind of dominates the sound. Like a lot of people. If you go over to like the Japanese version of Mal, basically, and you go to his member page, it's just a lot of people crapping on him because a lot of people don't like the sound. Like, especially like first time I really noticed him was, I think it was Faith Apocrypha.
Oh yeah,
and I was
like way over the top.
That's it, right? I kind of like that OTT-ness, but I think a lot of people, I would say it's like 50-50. People are like either like love this guy or hate this guy. And I could hear a few booms and pops in the Black Rock Shooter PV that suggest that he might be working on this, or if it's not him directly, it's someone who's kind of inspired by his sound. But other than that, though, that's basically where it like begins and ends in terms of like positives. I thought the character design, again, the designs look cool, but the animation does not look great. There's like heavy use of this really heavy like CG, and it doesn't integrate well with the hand-drawn stuff. And then they have the thing, I really don't like this. I'm going to call this the Alicization of anime, where basically the border of characters is just completely gone. Mm-hmm. Like Ari Furuita does it as well, but Alicization is like the one that does it like quite well. I like the border. I like the thick border on like when you're
Demon Slayer has like a really
character.
thick border. Like on the other side of the spectrum is like Demon Slayer, like the really thick borders. Yeah.
And like I think it when it doesn't look great, I don't know. It has I feel like there's just like it's very like clunky here. You have the CG, you have this hand-drawn animation, which is like and you have good character design and a potentially interesting world. You know, like it's a kind of like a sci-fi kind of like dystopia. Really charting new grounds, dystopian sci-fi, but that's can be a fun like sandbox to play in. And I really want to like kind of watch this. But they're not giving me any reason to justify picking this over like almost anything else this season.
Yeah,
what are you guys thinking?
From what I remember from the original, it was like the story was kind of almost not there. Like it wasn't really that much of a story, but like the creativity was like off the charts, and that was like what was appealing. And that might be why it has like a low score, because it looks really good and it has like creative stuff, but the story is like almost not there. So that's what I know about Black Rock Shooter. It's like really creative. But like, you know, one of these shows that is like done by a really creative person, but they don't have a lot of experience making shows, so it sort of falls apart. That was sort of my impression of Black Rock Shooter, like the edition, but I haven't seen it though.
Peter?
For me, I haven't seen the first Black Rock Shooter season at all, so I'm just going in blind, and I'm watching the trailer for this. No idea what's going on. It looks like questionable CG is being used in this anime, and I don't know what the people are saying because, like Yata said, there is no subtitles in English, to me, I really don't know what I'm getting myself into. I mean, the action can be really cool, but you need to have some sort of good context for that action to take place in. You need to know what the stakes are. And I only saw a bunch of fighting in the trailer, so I can't really judge what this show is going to be like. To be honest, for me, this is quite low. I would say it's a 1 or a 2 out of 10 in terms of anticipation.
Yeah, I'll go like slightly higher and say again another 5, because I really want to watch it, if that makes sense. But right now I don't want to watch it, but I want to watch it. So what about you, Snowman? You gonna give me a number?
Yeah, I was gonna go like maybe 2 or 3 because I sort of like these creative passion projects, but this seems like it's not the same as the original in that sense.
On to the next one. We have Arahan-san wa Hakenrei, which is Arahan is indecipherable.
Yep.
I probably butchered that name. I'm sorry. Rainia Arahan, a small and cute student with a quiet voice, is quite bad at determining distance and personal space. Sometimes she inches away from your face and other times miles too far. Sometimes she is inches away from your face and other times miles too far. The only one who tries to understand her antics is Radoyu Matsuboshi, who is seated beside her in class. He has a menacing face, but in reality, he is a kind boy with an imagination that can run wild at times. Arahan-san wa Hakarena follows the peculiar pair, and their odd friendship starts to blossom when Radio picks up Arahan's eraser for her. She misinterprets his gesture and now believes that she misinterprets his gesture and now believes them to be best friends, showing how the simplest of things can prove to be the most complicated of challenges for them. Okay, so that is Arahan is indecipherable. I did my best job at butchering that synopsis. I apologize.
the Mal rewrites team strikes again. Yeah,
generally, I would say we got lots of love for the Mal rewrite team here because they do the work for us, so we don't have to do it. I'm not gonna lie. For something like one of those things where you're like watching a PV, and I kind of like a chastised. I can't even remember the name of one. The girl about her not being always as cute. What was her name?
Shikamori.
Shikamori is not a cutie. Like, comp that one to this one. For some reason, this one just was much more agreeable to me. For whatever reason. Like, I think this potentially could be kind of low-key good.
There's a deadpan lolly. Yata. That's it. You got the pen. You got the little dead eyes. That's it.
I don't know. Yeah, I think there's something. Maybe that one it is. Yeah, she had gray hair as well. So
yep, that might be it.
But I don't know. Yeah. I really don't know what it is. But I have a feeling, like if I had to put money down on the table, like Vegas style, I would say this is going to like be actually pretty good. Yeah. Like, I'm confident this is like not going to be a disaster. Felix Films, the studio who are behind it.
That was scary. When I saw that, there was some like a lot of people that they haven't really done much. I'm like, ooh, I'm a little bit scared about this.
They say you're talking like Nekopara, and that's pretty much it, right? And it's hard. Like Nekopara is hardly an endorsement.
Yeah, but, and the director did like Noblesse, which is really bad, and Problem Children from Another World, which is I think it was okay, but yeah, I'm not really enthusiastic about the staff.
My thinking is like again to like mention her before, but if I'm getting a sort of like a Kana style character in this sort of like high school comedy, I just that's like theoretically now all the math equates to this being kind of like fun, so hopefully it's fun. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm a solid 7 on this one in terms of like I do actually think I'm gonna check this one out, and I'm hoping that my anime senses are working well, and this is actually good, and I'm not just like hopelessly wrong here.
Yeah, I read the manga. I read like a couple volumes of the manga for this, and that's why I was like initially interested in it. And it has like the gag comedy type of feel to it, where like it's very short chapters and it's like a joke, so it has that type of flow to the whole thing. But yeah, she's like this deadpan lolly, like she does things that are you can't really understand them. I think that's the whole point of like the premise. She's like incomprehensible with the way she acts, and that's like the main shtick, right? So it depends on how good the comedy lands, I think.
Peter?
Yeah, And I also thought that there's also some just a hint of sweetness in the show. It's not just deadpan lolly trying to communicate, but I think it's similar to like Komi-san, where you have someone who is trying to communicate and who can't really do it, which is kind of a bit tragic, to be honest. If you really want to express yourself, but you can't, yet the way you communicate is in this really weird way. It's just a nice angle to have, but you also have an undercurrent of just two people getting to know each other as people. So I'm also going to give this a low-key 7 out of 10. I'm going to check this out.
Nice. Wow, I think we're like weirdly sort of in concurrence right now. Maybe I should have brought Naraki in just to like
We need to bring somebody,
yeah, just like
Yeah.
because he would always like not criticize, but say like that me and Taka tended to just agree with each other the whole time. We start sitting there like pigeons, like yeah, you're right, yeah, you're right. But look, it just turns out that we're agreeable people, right? Well, we do what we can, but can't force the drama. It's not like First Take, you know.
Great minds think alike about anime.
Yes. The next one, okay, I might need one of you guys to kind of clear up my feelings on this next one because I am genuinely not sure. So you have Love After World Domination. In the eyes of the public, Furuo Aikawa and Desumi Magahara are sworn enemies who have nothing in common. Fudo, also known as Red Gelato, is the leader of the hero squadron Gelato S, whose mission is to bring about world peace. On the other hand, Desumi is the minion leader of Gecko, a villainous organization seeking world domination. However, despite these differences, their relationship is not quite what it seems. When they are not making a show of being at each other's throats, Desumi and Furumi continue to pursue a forbidden love. And that's basically where I think we need to stop on the synopsis, because that is quite a good premise right there. And the trailer is about as wacky as the synopsis suggests. Like, I really didn't know what to make with this one. It's like Super Sentai anime, but with a lot of like slapstick humor.
Yeah, and like the main hero is in love with the main villain. That's the big twist, right? I guess.
Yeah, and like character design looks pretty solid.
You've got this
animation's
Romeo
pretty good
and
as well,
Juliet
right?
thing going on a bit. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so this looks like it could be actually low key like great in a sort of like way that like Gintama is kind of great, where it's like it legitimately seems like it could be very funny and off the wall. But a part of me is also like, beware. This could be an absolute car crash, if not done correctly. But like, I can't really find like much wrong with it in terms of like watching the PV, the synopsis. Like, it's all promising, I would say. You know, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, for me, the strength of the premise just makes this something that I wanted to check out. Like I said before, you have this kind of like this Romeo and Juliet thing going on. We've got two characters from opposing forces that are in love, put in like a comedy context, and also the Power Rangers angle just makes this an interesting context for a relationship. And well, let's not be too indirect about this. It's also a premise for Hijinks. So
there we go. Where are they?
Are they going
Gotta
to
be the episode title?
Are they going to play up the comedy more? From the trailer, I think so. But you know, some sweetness would also be nice. Just a little bit sweet.
So we disagree on a show finally. I'm not super excited about this one at all. I'm not really big on Super Sentai. Like, I've never been super big on Power Rangers or anything like that. I enjoy the trigger attempts at like homages, like the Dynazenons and the Gridmans. That's not exactly Super Sentai, but in that line. But I'm not big on Super Sentai, and like the comedy scenes, that's fine. They're in love each other. They're in love with each other, but they're on opposite sides. I don't know. I'm not super interested, I would say.
I kind of wonder if my hope is like it's kind of something like that. You know, was a sleepy princess in a demon castle? Yeah, where it's like, oh, there's no way this is going to be good, but whoa, actually, this is actually kind of good.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, oh, I don't know, for some reason I'm getting kind of that kind of vibe from the show. Now, I could be hopelessly wrong, and maybe you're right, but all the pieces are so randomly kind of like fun that I think I'm probably like a 6 or 7 on this one as well. Like I'm legitimately kind of curious. Probably not curious enough to like hop straight into it like week 1, but in terms of like, oh, if someone gives me the green light, maybe I'll drive my Formula 1 car in that direction. Call back.
Next is what's next? Summertime Render? Is that the next one?
Yes, this. Oh wait, no, the next one is Healer Girl.
Oh,
but we can go to Summertime Render. Let's go off scripts. Let's go off roads. Summertime Render.
Yeah, I
do
think,
it.
like a Summertime Render seems like one of the few shows that I was like kind of interested, like besides the sequels. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and read the synopsis.
Alrighty, Roo. You know it's good because it's got a Mal rewrite synopsis, so there's already a fan base there. After his parents died, Shinpei Ajiro lives with the Kofune sisters, Mio and Ushio, but he has since moved to live on his own in Tokyo. But after Ushio drowns while trying to save the young Shiori Kobayakawa, he returns home to mourn her departure. However, bruises around Ushio's neck bring her cause of death into question. Taking a step back, Shinpei becomes convinced that there must be another explanation. Dangerous entities roam among the islanders, and a vision of deceased Ushio asks him to save Mio as her final request. He is certain that something is afoot, and Ushio's death is only a piece of the puzzle. Woo, boy! That is a synopsis.
I like when things are afoot. That's always a good sign.
Yeah. Murder is afoot on the on the SS Orient Express.
Did you guys get to catch the PV for this?
I did. Yeah.
I'm literally watching it right now.
Yeah, the PV doesn't give like a lot to go off. It's like it doesn't really like. I think the synopsis does a better job of selling the show than the PV. But I really enjoy these. You know, go back to your hometown and there's a mystery going on. Like I feel like that's something that I've seen it a couple times. Yeah. But if the mystery is done well, it can be really good. And the other thing is that it's 25. I think it's listed for 25 episodes, which is not normally the case. So that worries me a little bit because like mysteries can fall apart if they're too long. But it's also like good, right? Because I think Yata, you and I have talked about this before. There's not like a lot of shows that are 12 episodes that are like top tier. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just looking at it right now. It's like
what I've seen from the trailer is, I mean, in a mystery, you don't want to give too much away, so you only get like snippets in the trailer. But one thing you do kind of see is that there's this contrast between a very sunlit, sunny, bright, cheerful daytime island, and on the other hand, you have murder most foul. So this, and I think this like in the small trailer you get, they really know how to sell that there's something seriously wrong here. And yeah, I think a good mystery, if a mystery is good, it can sustain a longer story. So I'm hoping that this will be good. For me, I'm also going to check this out. In agreement once again, but what can I say? Good impressions are good impressions.
Yeah, this one, like the synopsis alone is like enough to make me kind of want to watch it. The PV is like legitimately impressive in terms of like, it looks pretty good, right? Like the animation is strong. I'm a sucker for these kind of like rural, like Japanese.
Yeah,
or these rural,
like these small towns in Japan. Yeah, like I want to live in one of them. Like some.
Yeah, that's it. Like as like Barakamon. Oh, an island. I'm just thinking of Barakamon or like Flying Witch or some. I know obviously this is like potentially a murder mystery, so it's not going to be like a chill, fun slice of life like those are. But in terms of like that kind of that setting is just like that's just like the easiest way to win me over in terms of like my interest. And
it's
then
the same
just, like,
studio
looking
as
at-
Komi-san, by the way. It's like it has like the
Yeah.
same studio and director as Komi-san, and the like there were a couple episodes in Komi-san that looked fantastic and were like absolutely fantastic in terms of direction. So I have some hope in that sense.
Yeah, man. For some reason, getting like serious movie vibes off it, like in terms of like the
It's kind of
presentation.
Western, right?
Like,
It has like a Western vibe, like a murder mystery. I don't know how many murder mysteries I've seen in anime. I haven't seen. I don't think I can think of anyone.
do we know if this is like
There
original
are
material
some,
or is it a manga adaptation?
Oh, well, I think it is a manga. Let me see.
Yeah, just checking now. It is a manga. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just curious because, it for some reason it's like I could see this being like an original
Yeah,
work,
agreed.
you know. But I believe the guy who's directing it was the guy who directed After the Rain, Ayumi Watanabe.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, he also did. I think he did Space Brothers as well.
Yeah, he's really good.
So that's like a positive.
Mhm.
That's actually a big positive. Like let's call it spade a spade here. You got like a promising looking PV and staff working on it that are pretty like historically have done good things. Then there's no reason why this shouldn't be good. I think this is like a 9 or a 10 for me. I think this is like pretty outside of Spy X Family. This is probably the one that I would put to the top of the list in terms of like, yeah, this might be the thing that we're talking about come the end of the season. This might be the, dare we say it, the standout anime of the season.
It's gonna be
The
like
secret,
Spy Family. It's gonna
the
be Spy
secret
Family. It's gonna be
Spy X Family killer, maybe.
Yeah, could you imagine? What a twist in the tale.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think we made the right choice skipping over Healer Girl and going for Summertime Render. But how about we do talk about Healer Girl right quick? This one, not quite the big backing in terms of like it didn't receive a Mal rewrite team synopsis, but it does have a synopsis. Healer Girl. The story will follow 4 girls who seek to use their songs to heal and soothe the people of the world. Of their world, sorry. The tagline reads, "Kind-hearted, powerful songs heal the world. These are beautiful miracles sung by humanity." Clearly translated directly from the Japanese, and not much effort was put into it. I know a crappy Google Translate when I see one. This is from Studio 3 Hertz, which is, that's and Gun Gale Online. Gun Gale Online and Devil's a Part-Timer. Probably the most recognizable shows. A Black Fox, the movie, was 3 Hertz.
Yeah,
And
I think they did. Didn't they do Princess Principal as well?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Princess Principal is like the definition of a teasy kind of show where like every so often you get this random clip. You don't know what it's from. Turns out it's from Princess Principal and it looks amazing and you're like hyped to watch the show. And then you get the reality of Princess Principal compared to that 10-second clip that you saw on Twitter. It's just like, no, they're
it's
not the
a
same
light
thing.
show with like some weird action scenes in it.
Azur Lane did the same thing. Like if you just watch Azur Lane's like Sakuga moments, you're like, oh my god, that has to be the best. That has to be the best show ever. Not quite. So what do we think about Healer Girl, or what we don't think about Healer Girl, if that's the case?
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! I mean, I got nothing out of this, to be honest. It's just cute girls singing. What's the hook here? I got nothing out of this.
What?
I mean,
Cute girls
looks
singing?
nice.
That's all you
cute.
need. That's all.
I mean, yeah, you got cute girls, you got singing, but what comes after this? I don't know. It's a 1 out of 10.
Oh,
Stay
savage.
away.
Yeah, I'm probably closer to 1 than I am to 10, though. I will say that.
Yep. Same.
Spoiler alert. I don't know. It looks fine. Like the animation is inoffensive. Controversial. The girls aren't even that cute. Honestly.
Oof. Like the one thing that the show has going for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that there is one with the kind of like gray hair. Surprise! It's
Okay.
kind of cute.
I think we need to talk
The
about
gray
this
hair
at some
with,
point. We
with
need
bags
to,
under her eyes, who looks like she's kind of over it.
Yeah, she's yawning.
I think we need to sit you on a couch at some point. Try to open you up.
Yeah, lie down on the couch. I don't know. Like it could be fun, but I think this one is like, even if it's like, if this one like is a best case scenario, I think it's still missable. It's still missable, and you're not going to be like too upset. I don't think it's going to dominate the discussion. For the season is Healer Girl. Might be surprisingly fun, and if it has some like earworms in terms of like the music is actually like half decent, it could be like a recommendation for someone who's like into, I don't know if it's like idol shows, but just like, you're maybe like more like not indie, but like kind of like more under the radar sort of anime. But it would have it would have to really like get me on the right day, I think, to have to watch Healer Girl. So I'd probably say like not quite a 1, but probably like a 3.
Yeah, and there's already like a Love Life show this season, so if you're into that type of show, you'll probably watch Love Life before.
Yeah, stiff competition this season for girls singing.
It's amazing. We've nearly got to an hour and a half, and there's still been no isekai.
Oh, we got.
Oh boy!
But Peter teased
it. Let's see what's next. All right, so coming up next, this is our number 9 on the list. We have Trapped in a Dating Sim. The world of ultimate games is tough for mobs.
Such a light novel title.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, that kind of automatically wins me over, because I just think of like what was that one? My Next Life is a Villainess. Like if you get trapped in one of those ultimate games, like it could be good. I actually really liked that Villainess. So we have a synopsis. It's from 7 Seas Entertainment. Office worker Leon is reincarnated into a particularly punishing dating sim video game where women reign supreme and only beautiful men have a seat on the table. But Leon has a secret weapon. He remembers everything from his past life, which includes a complete playthrough of the very game in which he is now trapped. What a surprise. Watch Leon spark a revolution to change this new world in order to fulfill his ultimate desire of living a quiet, easy life in the countryside. Oh, Leon, you're a man after my own heart. From Studio Enge. That's the studio that brought us... Oh, what was that one? Urizaki-chan?
Yeah.
I believe that was them, and probably not much else. We have, this reincarnated in a dating sim. The episode length is undetermined right now, but I can guarantee you it will be 12 episodes. There is no way this is 25.
Yeah.
No way. Okay, someone talk.
All right. So the thing is, this just seemed like an interesting premise to me, to be honest. We've already had isekai power fantasies for guys, but this time a guy is trapped in a reverse harem situation where he needs to find his way out. So the power dynamics are shifted. He's a nobody, and I think it could be a nice setup for some nice politics, behind the scenes politics between the different royal houses and all the men trying to get with the ladies and trying to kind of subvert the system. And yeah, the main character has this kind of like this Lelouch Lamperouge vibe from him, kind of like this smug guy who seems like he's very smart, which it's always very fun to watch those guys fail and have to kind of scrap back some sort of plan at the very last minute. So I mean, in terms of your general run-of-the-mill power fantasy isekai, I think this is a step above. But we're just going to have to wait and see how this goes. I mean, the studio itself is not promising, and I'm pretty sure that not everybody is going to be completely on board on this.
No, yeah, the comparison to Kogias like pulls me in a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit. You sold it a little bit more than I was already. I wasn't really that interested. That makes me a little bit more interested. But besides that, I'm not like Villainous. I really enjoyed Villainous, but I think that one had like this very upbeat type of energy, and that doesn't seem to be the case for this one. So the premise might feel similar, but the vibes might be way different.
I will say I'm quite impressed by how like the character design kind of really hits that sort of shoujo light novel character design. Like I'm personally not the biggest fan of that style. I like that Villainess style, or like Demi-chan, or like that sort of like softer, less angular kind of Bishi boy kind of character design. This one, like, I don't know. It's like I actually think it's very well like put together in terms of like how it looks. Like in terms of like the images, it's good. We didn't get a lot of animation in the PV. It's a lot of like kind of like pretty art, so that could go either way. But in terms of a premise, like the premise is not awful. It's just not awfully original in sort of like in the over. But the sort of like the things that make it you kind of unique are pretty like cool idea. Like being sort of one amongst the harem of like NPCs, you know, or like is kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know. I think it could actually be not bad. I'll say like a 6.
Yeah, the idea of like a male character like actually having to go out and like get the girl to go out with him, which is not common. It's usually like the main character's like, oh, I don't know, I guess I like you, and they sort of fall into a relationship. That might be more interesting also.
All right, so we are running a little bit long.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna call it that we have one more to choose.
Oh, can it be Tomodachi Game? Because I think that one's like kind of interesting.
Sure. That's probably the one that I was gonna let you guys choose anyway. But Tomodachi Game is probably the one that is worthy of talking about. You know, especially in a post Squid Game world.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. It's like I wonder how inspired it is. Maybe not, but
I don't know that little boy character, like it seems episode 1 in Squid Game, right?
Yeah, it feels kind of like Saw to me, like a Jigsaw. But yeah, if you want to read the
yeah, so Tomodachi Game, it's a death game, I believe. Let's find out. Yuichi Kadagiri has battled financial hardship his whole life and has learned to stay content and positive thanks to his close circle of friends. To keep a promise he made to them, Yuichi saves up enough money to join them on a school trip, but when the gathered money mysteriously goes missing, suspicion falls on 2 of Yuichi's friends, Shiho Sawagari and Makoto Shibe, who were in charge of collecting the payments. Although innocent, Shibo and Makoto take responsibility for their failure to protect the money, and when no one else comes forward... when no one else comes forward. A few days later, Yuichi and his friends receive mysterious letters that trick each of them into meeting up. Upon arrival, they are ambushed and knocked unconscious. They wake up in a mysterious room in the presence of Mahabu-kun, a character from a controversial children's show that stopped airing due to its malicious content. He informs the group that one of them indirectly gathered them together in order to settle a large debt. They are to play a friendship game, a series of games that will test the strength of their bond and trust in each other. As the group's fate wavers due to the growing number of secrets and betrayals, Yuichi must figure out who of his friends he can actually trust and ultimately discover the identity of the traitor.
Anime Saw. And
I'm
excited for this one because I enjoyed like the design of the friend. Like he's really creepy, really creepy. Like the little boy, like he's like a wooden puppet though, like Pinocchio type, but like a Pinocchio from your nightmares. That's the type of design. And I enjoy that. I think it's gonna if it can nail that like creepy body horror that Saw has, it might be really good. But I'm not sure. What do you guys think about it?
Me, I'm just I'm not really convinced. I mean, we've seen this before. It's a killing game, but with a different mascot. I mean, I've played all 3 of the Danganronpa games, and I'm like, okay, probably one of the friends is probably just the one behind everything, or there's a link between him and the creepy mascot. I'm already thinking in these kinds of terms. I'm not sold, to be honest. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. We gotta disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could. We're on like a tie ball game right now. I would say this, right? The source material is from 2013, so it's not directly like a reaction to Squid Game in terms of like it getting written and sort of like from an idea perspective. But I kind of wonder if this wasn't made as a response to Alice in Borderland and Squid Game's success, as in terms of like the idea of it. Like I think it getting kind of released as an anime definitely was, and that's like my only concern is from the PV that it kind of looks rushed. Like I think the designs are good. The little puppet boy is creepy, but the animation is like, oh man, it could be bad. Like I'm getting kind of like pet vibes from it. So I reckon what this is a case of a good story with a bad kind of shell, which can be good. You know, like if the story is good, ultimately, like that's gonna carry it a long way. But if we're getting like kind of choppy animation, that might really let it down in terms of like how essential it is as a seasonal watch. And then there's like the fact that it's coming off the back of Squid Game in terms of like, is this the right time to do this? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, yes, in one respect, because death games are popular right now, and like I do actually enjoy a good death game. Like Battle Royale is like I always say it's my favorite movie. You know, when I was a teenager, I saw Battle Royale and I thought it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And I'm always like there for them, you know, and I love Squid Game as well. But do I really, you know, it kind of feels sort of cynical, and I feel like I'm kind of like falling into the trap by getting excited for this. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no, I won't let you manipulate me.
The game has already begun.
I don't know.
Yata.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't watch Darwin's Game. I'm not really sure I'm going to watch this either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Death games can be like, they sometimes feel like a little trashy, I guess, might be, and not like the good kind of trashy where like you're enjoying yourself when you're watching it. It's kind of like, oh, this is like, you know, not really entertaining and also trashy. So if it falls into that, then absolutely, like I wouldn't watch. If I see that it gets into that sort of vibe, I'm not going to watch past like an episode or two. But if not, then I'll definitely keep watching.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one final question for the season. I would say overall the season's like promising, but we've seen better. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Go into your head. What would you think? What would you guess will be the show of the season?
Spy Family. I would go Spy Family.
I
think it has a lot of hype in it, and it's like a sitcom type of comedy style, but also like I think it has heart because I from what I remember reading the manga, it has like a decent amount of heart with like the family aspects that Peter mentioned. So I think that's the one. It also has like action scenes, so we can pull in our action lovers.
All right, just to be different, I'll say Black Rock Shooter. Oh wait, no, I won't, because it's definitely not going to be Black Rock Shooter. I'll say Summertime Render. But if you had chosen Summertime Render, I would have chosen Spy X Family. So I feel like it's one of those two, but maybe we'll be surprised with some other shows. Like we'll find out. There's a lot of potential out there. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to say goodbye to you guys listening, and I'm going to say thank you to Snowman and thank you for Peter for coming on. We'll talk about it off air, and we'll kind of come to a consensus on what we think will be a good show to watch along, like have a group watch with, and see if we can come back maybe like halfway through the season to discuss how the season is faring, and see if we were horribly wrong about some shows and horribly right about other shows. Thank you for listening. As always, you can follow us on My Anime Podcast, all the places you find your stuff. Leave a review if you feel so inclined, and come join us in the Discord so we can maybe discuss what you think was going to be the hot anime titles for future seasons. It's good to be back. Until next time, bye bye. Bye.